Sunday, so a lot of people are going to be around anyway. So the recording will get lots of views over time.
Yeah. Especially a long weekend, Sunday.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. This is Monica Kunzekwe-Guta. Welcome to South TV. Today we are discussing an issue that is becoming a real problem in these modern times, with everybody spending time on the computers, on their phones. Scamming is on the rise. And we have Scott here, who is our guest, and his photos have been used for over 4,000 times. I find it overwhelming. I can't comprehend it, but looking at the figures, it looks like this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm hoping that our discussion is going to help both men and women who have just experienced it before you experience it or whatever, but that will bring a lot of awareness as to what is happening in the world today that might affect your identity and your life. Could you please share this video as well as subscribe to our channel so that as many people get some help as possible? Scott, welcome to South TV. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Hello, wherever you happen to be in the world today. My name is Scott Kufus. I happen to live in Orlando, Florida, here in the United States. And I have 2 children that many people have seen pictures of from all over the world. That's why some of us are connected today. But I enjoy the outdoors. I'm a big environmentalist and someone who's interested in conservation and the planet and like to help people. And really enjoy, playing lots of sports and being active in my children's lives. And so, certainly being online gives you the ability to share a lot of your life. I do a lot of my work online. I was a motivational speaker and trainer for years. So I've been in front of a lot of audiences. I know thousands and thousands of people. And because I have about 20,000 pictures online, it's just easy for scammers to take my identity. Of course, a lot of stuff is very accessible. And so I'm pretty sure that that's one of the reasons I'm a target. And so, I'm happy to kind of share with you a little bit about my story, how, we got here today. As Monica mentioned, my identity has been stolen thousands of times. I've communicated with hundreds of women from around the world in about 30 or 40 countries. On all sorts of subjects related to them being misinformed and lied to and scammed as a result of my face and other people using my identity. And I'm here to share with you, how that happens, how you can avoid it in the future, how you can see it faster, how you can protect friends of yours, or maybe suggest to some of your friends that might be stuck in something like that, how they can do something different. So hopefully today's story will help you with that.
Fantastic. I'll go to Darlene for you to introduce yourself, and then
Hi, I'm Darlene Petrie, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I always say I'm the very proud great-grandmother of a beautiful 6-year-old great-granddaughter. And of course, I have the children that go along with her as well, and the grandchildren. And I am very interested and have been interested in the human services field for 37 years. I used to work with and still volunteer with children and youth who have experienced homelessness and who have been in conflict with the law. And so I'm since retired. And so when I was looking for that post-work experience, I happened to get a passion for scam prevention because I was someone who had been scammed. So I really feel that because I was somebody who did not know anything about scammers, about social catfishing or anything or any kind of scamming, I really felt that there's a need to inform people. And also I'd like to inform people that it doesn't just happen to people who are older, and it does happen to younger people as well. So that's why I'm here today. I really want to ensure that the message gets out, and both from the perspective of the person, the target who was photos been stolen, and for the person who was scammed. Thank you.
Thank you. So here, as you can see, we have both responsible citizens, parents, grandparents who have been scammed. And when you look at them, the reason why people do not admit that they're being scammed, it is because there is shame attached to it. There is, people get embarrassed because you'll be thinking, how did I let my guard down? How did I believe in something so stupid? How did I think this could happen? But stop blaming yourself, because for these people, it's a profession. So I'm going on to Scott. Can you tell us your story, please?
Sure. So I've been on the internet for a very, very long time. I started an internet company back in 2000. So, over 20 years. But along that path, I would say about 8 years ago, a friend of mine that I'd known a long time said that I was communicating with them and asking them for money. And I said, no, I wasn't doing that. And it just came out of the brew. If you haven't talked to somebody in many years, and then they said, hey, are you okay? Because last time you were asking me for, I said, no, I wasn't at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, yeah, it was you. It was coming from your site. So, well, just because it was coming from my site, technology is imperfect. At the time, I'm like, hey, emails sometimes don't go. Sometimes they go to everybody. Pictures, that didn't come from me. They're like, no, it was you. And like, they were really accusing me of doing something I definitely didn't do. And I felt like, wow, I didn't do that. How do you prove to somebody you didn't do something when they see a communication coming with my face from a Facebook account saying whatever it was saying? And so that was just an odd thing. I left it alone. And then about 2 years later, a couple more of those showed up. And so I thought that was weird. Now I knew there was a little bit of a pattern. So speed up a couple years, all of a sudden it started to come in more often. And a couple years ago, women started to contact me from all over the world. And what was happening was they were saying they knew me. And I'm like, well, no, I don't know who you are. And they're like, yes, you do. I'm, Denise, or I'm Shara, or wherever it might be. And this is all over the globe, and, over 25 different countries. And like, well, we had this talk and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm sorry. Oh, you're a liar. And so all of a sudden they start getting mad at me as if I was throwing them away. So they were having a conversation with a man who was using my pictures on dating sites or on personal sites or on fake Facebook pages or whatever for a period of time. And they were developing a relationship with whatever that person was saying and using my family pictures. And the reason they might is because I have thousands of pictures online. And so they took me as a single dad, and they took pictures with my children, and they would say that I'm a widow. So they would prey on women by saying, I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking to get remarried, I want to get whole, my ex-wife died, or, she ran away, or did come up with some sad story to entice a woman to be interested. And we have to understand that, there's a lot of lonely people in the world, millions of people, a good, 10 or 20% of the people in a country are chronically lonely. Like, they're very sincerely lonely. They need attention. They want someone. They're hoping for someone. And so if somebody begins to start a conversation with them, they believe that. But it begins there in a conversation, and very quickly it escalates to, I love you, or I have these feelings for you, we should get together. So the next step that you'll see, having talked to an awful lot of people, is they go from just getting your attention and your sympathy to suggesting you're going to get together somehow. Oh, I'll fly you to me, or maybe I'll come to you. Most of these men are on an oil rig. I'll just tell you right now, if anyone ever suggests they're an engineer on an oil rig, they're liars. How many oil rig engineers have you met in your life? But the biggest scam in the world is, there's a Facebook page that's got 700 oil rig men on it. They're all scammers, every one of them. And so what's interesting is they come up with a story about how they're going to see you. And if you'll just buy them a ticket, like, hey, they're stuck here, they don't get paid for, but if you'll buy a ticket, they'll reimburse you. And so that's one of the scams. Another scam is, hey, I'm stuck over here on an oil rig. I can't buy anything for my daughter, my kids, and it's her birthday. Would you buy her would you buy her a music card, a gift card, and I'll pay you back? And so what happens is sympathetic people start the process off by wanting to do something nice, and they'll buy a $50, $100 music gift card, which can be transferred in a matter of minutes online for cash. So you send that person the code for music, they just flip it on the open market for 75 cents on the dollar and get cash in no time at all. You don't even know. So you think you're doing something nice. That begins there. And the reason I'm sharing you the story is it seems really simple and innocent, but this is how they know you're going to give them more. If you do that, then you're in for an airline ticket. Then maybe you're in for $500 or $1,000. And I talked to a woman who gave $31,000. I've talked to dozens of women that have given $5,000 to $15,000 to total strangers. I had a broker from a brokerage company call me one day. They were going to wire me $109,000. There was a lady who had never met this person in their life, who was prepared to send $109,000 to a complete stranger. And I said, no, that's not me. You got to stop that. That's a scam. I said, what could that person possibly say to get a woman to believe to send $109,000? And they came up with some story that they have low oil wells and all this money's locked up in the government. And it doesn't matter the story. The important thing for you is it starts very small. It's a very simple, innocent thing. I care about you, to I need something from you, to I really want more and more and more. And they just keep pushing it and chasing you. So that in general is how the process begins. And there's a lot of ways to prevent that. We can talk about that as well.
Wow, it's mind-boggling. You know how someone sits down and creates something like this. So my next question will be, how has it impacted you and your family?
Well, once I started realizing it happened, I would, on a consistent basis, 2-3 times a year, make a public announcement on my Facebook pages. Again, I'm connected to thousands of people that, hey, don't give any money to anyone that looks like me. I'm not asking you for money. I've been scammed many times. Here's a bunch of pictures. So I posted hundreds and hundreds of examples of me. It's my picture, but with different names. So I would say a third of the time they use my name in some way. They misspell it, Scotty_Kufus, Scotty with a Y, I-E, Kufus, 24. They come up with all different ways to spell my name. Or it's they use my first name or my last name and they switch out a name, or they just use a totally different name. I mean, it's funny when you go to the Instagram page and you look at the 4,000 different ways I've been scammed. You'll see how creative people are. I mean, I live in lots of countries. So, I have Chinese names and Indian names and African-American names. I have names from Russia. I mean, I have names from all over the planet with my face and my family to do whatever it is these scammers want to do. And so just know that I try to warn people, but I don't let it bother me, in a personal level, and that I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. But I am going to address people that reach out. So, I do take time every week to respond to some people that reach out to me. As I said, I've talked to dozens and probably, I don't know, maybe 150 or 200 people, lots of people. And the ones that actually they send me a message either from their, hey, my mom thinks she got scammed, or I think my mom got scammed, but she doesn't believe me. I've called the moms and said, I'm sorry, man, this person took your money, or I work with the family on things. So I do try to address and have real dialogues with people. That's how I met Darlene, in, same kind of circumstance. And we got a dialogue, and I said, hey, if you're ever in Orlando, you can meet me personally. Like, I'm a real person. We can have coffee. I'm a nice guy. So we did that. But I do try to do everything I can to reach out to people, and I warn people all the time. But in terms of impacting my life, it's just something I have to deal with, and I'll always have to deal with. Then I'm not going to let some scam artists around the world get in my way. See, they already have my pictures. I mean, if I got off social media now, people ask, why don't you just get off social media? Well, why? I mean, they already have all my pictures. It's in the black market somewhere. my pictures all over the world. They're on every dating site, virtually in every country. Like, I'm on zero dating sites. A big scam page is Words with Friends. Any of the gaming sites with words, those all scam artists. So there's ways to prevent that. So that's how it impacts me essentially.
Okay. Yes, I have put the link for Instagram so that the people can have a little bit of insight
Yeah,
of
it's pretty
how that
crazy.
works. But here are some of the names that's been used. I copied some of them. Richard Maxwell, or it could be Maxwell Richard, John Smith,
Yeah.
Jeffrey Morgan, Adams George Brian, or
Yeah.
Brian George Adams. There's, like you were saying, there is many more, which is absolutely crazy. But my next question would be, so what advice would you give to people who have been scammed and to contact the person in the photo?
Yeah. So there's lots of things. If you're going to meet new people, and obviously on the internet, again, and a lot of lonely people, they start chatting. It's an innocent beginning, but you have to be skeptical and you have to be suspicious of anyone you just meet online that's overly friendly. Like, why would somebody be overly friendly to a stranger they haven't met yet? You haven't done anything for them yet. So you should be suspicious and cautious of everyone, no matter what, right? And so if you're not physically sitting in front of somebody, how do you really know who you're talking to? And there is a way to find that out, but usually the first interactions are not that way. What I warn people, specifically women, because women reach out to me because I'm the man that they were talking to. What I tell them is, I wouldn't go out with a man that asked me for money. Like, if I was going to go on a date and you want me to send you gift cards and want to send airline tickets, like that's a deal breaker. Like, I don't need to get into a circumstance where I'm supporting someone else. So if anyone begins to ask you for any financial anything whatsoever, you should be out of that relationship, like done. Like, that is like a no-go. That is really weird. Makes no sense. They don't know you. They could talk to their friends, their relationships. Like, that's just out. Just, I would say, I'm sorry. I just don't do that. I think this relationship has come to a close. I don't see any more potential here. I wish you well. And just block them. I mean, you don't have to be overly friendly. A lot of people get caught up in being really friendly with someone they don't know, but you can't afford to give your money to someone else you do not know. So that's a good place to start. The second is, if they start to show interest in you, ask them to do a live video interaction like this. Everybody has a phone and on a computer. That's how they met. And guess what? They work. So I can do a video call with you right now, real quick. It can solve that in seconds. You can too. On Facebook, you can communicate. On WhatsApp, there's all different ways. But people need to be willing to say, hey, you're going to have to prove it to me you're a real person. So I want to see you. I want to see you talk to me. And if for any reason someone comes with any excuse at all, I don't care what the excuse is, that's a no-go. You're done. Like, oh, my phone doesn't work. I have trouble here. The bandwidth on the computer is bad. I'm stuck on an oil well. I'm not allowed to talk during work. I don't care what the excuse is. The very first time you hear that, it's over. Because if you really want to talk to someone, I can call you now. I can see you. I can solve that in 30 seconds if it's relevant. I can have an interaction. I can see the person I was talking to is the person who's communicating with now. So that's really important, because you want to ascertain, is that a real person or not? So, obviously it's not my face, anyone's face. Is that person real? If they don't, get out of it, no problem whatsoever. That's a good way to handle it. Or the other thing you can say is, hey, before I get into any serious discussions with anybody online that I don't know, I like to do a background check on them. Do you have any problem if I were to look in, like, connect with me on your Facebook page? Let me see some of your friends. Give me a sense of what your life looks like. If somebody says they're not into social media, they don't have a Facebook page, it's not their personality, or it's just like, I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm a little shy. Again, that relationship's over. Just get done with it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I've been out there 20 years. There's thousands of pictures. I can't fake 5, 10, 20 years worth of pictures. You can't fake that on a platform. But you'll notice when I report things, my platform has 12 years worth of data thousands of pictures, but the scammer has 6 pictures and like 6 friends. That's called a clue. Like if you go to someone's page and they have no friends and they have virtually no pictures of them doing anything. They got a picture of their dog and a sunset and a flower. Like what? That has nothing to do with someone's life. So that's called a clue that that person is just making something up. So don't get fooled into that. Again, you're looking for inner transparency really quickly. So if you want to save yourself a lot of grief, or you want to counsel someone in your life you think that's going through this, ask them to do some of these things so they can immediately, flesh out some of this stuff right away. Ask all the people just to ask you for their phone number. Say, hey, I'll tell you what, why don't you just give me your phone number and I'll call you and we can do a live call, because you don't have to use your phone. You should just ask for the phone number to get the response. You can call them on WhatsApp. You could use a phone service that protects your phone, or you can block your own number and call somebody just to see whether they're real. So that's a really important thing to see as well, because you want to know if that's a real contact. Because if not, you don't need to enter in a relationship with a fake person, right? We just don't have time in life to do that. And so these are some things that people can do. The other is there's a function on Facebook that allows you to block anyone seeing your content from any country in the world you want. So if you go into the security settings, you can actually go, I don't want anyone. In most cases, the majority of scams come from North Africa or Nigeria or different places in China. There's about 5 countries in the world that have an enormous amount of scam networks, and everything comes from that. I get calls from Nigeria 3 or 4 times a week. They're just trying to connect to my phone somehow or communicate with me. I don't know anybody in Nigeria. I have no reason to answer a phone from someone in Nigeria, and you probably have no reason to show your pictures to someone that lives there either, or any other country of the world for that matter. So decide for yourself in your own security settings. Well, where do you know people? Like, if you don't know people in you can block off certain continents and never have any problems. So they're not going to see your stuff if it's on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Now, if you're talking to them on a dating site, I don't think that there's any security preventions on dating sites. You just have to report people. The same things with words with friends and things like that. So look at the security prevention possibilities. If you think someone's a fraud, report them. And that's what you can do on most of these sites very, very quickly.
And I was also thinking that when you get to talk to someone, it wouldn't make sense then that if the image is that of Scott and the accent is African, it doesn't make sense.
That's right. It happens all the time. Or people can spell. A lot of the women tell me, oh, they knew it was a scammer because the person couldn't use English in the same context. The spelling, it was just the sentences made no sense. They just knew it just was something wrong. But it should even, again, you just have to be aware. Like, go in suspicious. If someone, is, really, really, excited, they're going out of their way, maybe they will communicate with you in a video. Ask them to do something in a video, like, hey, I want you to write my name, in a video and your favorite song, or show me the newspaper. Take a picture in your kitchen. Show me what's in your refrigerator. Like, ask them to create a picture specifically you want with them in it in front of, because if it's a scammer, they're only grabbing some pictures to start with. But now you can get creative. Well, no, I don't want that one. I want you in your refrigerator. Like, so now that you kind of put them in a box, is it the same picture in the refrigerator? No, it's not. So, yeah, and that's the kind of stuff you see. Or take a picture in your kitchen. Because if you ask people, you can learn a lot about someone's kitchen, right? Like, hey, take a picture in the kitchen. So what's in the background or what's on the walls? What, are they organized? Are they clean? Like, is there something on the refrigerator? Their pictures. What country does it look like it's from? What economic status are they coming from? If they say that they're on an island or they're on an oil rig, say, great, let me see your picture on the oil rig. Show me the sunset, show me the ocean. So get a sense of, and then have some fun, like, if they're scamming, I've talked to some ladies that just had fun with them. They just ask them to do all sorts of crazy stuff just because. Some people have been turned in. I've personally met with the FBI. I've personally met with local police. I went into the police station myself a couple years ago and explained all the story. I wanted them to document it locally, so they were aware. I don't want to be misunderstood in any way. I've talked to various agents from across the country. So some people have fun just once they know it's a scam or just chatting with them. But some of these people can get caught. The one lady that sent a wired $31,000 and found out like a week later, I suggested she just go back to her bank and through that process, and they might be able to get her money back. Or maybe not, but at least the bank can work it. And she did. Like 3 or 4 weeks later, she got back to me. She goes, "Oh, the bank was able to get it back." I'm like, wow, that's incredible that the thief didn't move the $31,000 quicker than that, or however they locked it down. But so she was real happy. But most of the people, they'll lose $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 before they know. And shame is the issue, really, Monica. Talking with some of these, I said, "Did you ever tell your family or your friends or your sisters, brothers, any that this is going?" "No, I was too embarrassed. I had already given them like $2,000," and like they get caught in emotionally. And then they love them. Oh, they love. I go, how could you love someone you've never met? Like they don't love you. They're stealing from you, and that's just how I felt, and I believed in your faith and all stuff. So people are embarrassed. So if you're out there and you think you've been scammed, tell someone. Let them help you. Like, hey, tell your best friend, tell your kids to jump in there and protect you. If you have someone that's still calling you, which happens a lot, these scammers will keep pestering you and calling. Even if you tell them to go away, if you don't block them, they'll come back different ways. They want to take your money. Get someone who's strong in your life to go back with you and get on that phone. All right, let the person call, and then let someone who's tough in your life go right at them. Like, you leave my mom alone. You're like, hey, I'm going to come for you. Like, they need to hear that there's something strong on the other side, because these people they're all around the world. They're in another continent. And every now and then I just tell people also early on, I would tell them, I said, hey, I've got your IP address. I said, the police are aware of our communication. Your IP address is now on location. They know where you're at too, and they're going to be coming for you. So you should be really careful right now. And so I just say it because I want them to be afraid of it. I want them to think about it. I want them to think about that they're going to be attacked. And sometimes someone says a message. I've talked to a couple of the scammers myself, because some of the ladies will give me the phone numbers, and I pick up the phone and call them and tell them that they're using, my kid's identity, that it's fraud, that's a crime. I'm going to come to get them, in terms of the police, they're going to come after them. And here's what I tell them. I said, I tell them, who turned you in? Your next door neighbor. Your next door neighbor. I said, you have eyes on you because they know you're doing the wrong thing, and the people in your life know you're doing the wrong thing, and they're turning you in. So you should be really, really careful about all the people in your life, because they're turning you in right now. And like, I want them feared the other way a little bit. It's every now and then you have to just protect yourself, but just be aware that most of these people just want to see if you're an easy mark. Don't be that.
That is very good advice. And so people are just saying great advice, and they're thanking you for the advice. I think they're taking some notes so that they'll be able to either help themselves or help others. And like you said, it is important that you quickly find a way of showing them that I know that you are a scammer, something is not right. And not to ignore small things, like if someone is saying I'm 6'2", but from the picture you're seeing someone who's 3 foot, it doesn't make sense.
Well, they lie a lot, and there's definitely a lot of lies that go through stuff. I mean, I just think, women have fantastic intuition in general. If they're not being really transparent on really simple things, then you guys got to move on. Life is too short. You wouldn't tolerate that as a friend. If you had a friend who was in your life on down the street and they weren't telling you the truth, they wouldn't meet with you. You couldn't figure out what's going on. You wouldn't spend time getting to know that person, even if they were in your own town. So you can't do that online and put yourself at risk with all of your data, because the more you talk to someone, that you tell them about your life, that you tell them about your kids, your family, where you might be doing banking, what your profession is, they can research all sorts of stuff about that online, and then come after you all different ways with different kinds of scams about, you have software, what kind of software do you use to protect yourself? And then, you'll get some software scam in a month or two that's just like, hey, we're upgrading your software and we need to, go over this. And we're waiving the $50 charge, but we've got to reset your computer. Like, there's just a lot of things like that we have to be very careful on. So I would say no to most strangers, just in general online, unless you can get a live interaction, like this. I will say my identity has been misunderstood as a scammer for years. And so I'm on scamming sites. It's sad for me to go on a site, I get a link, and there's my picture. This guy scams people.
Mm.
And then there's all these oh, I got scammed, all this stuff too. And I've tried to clear my name on some of them where I'm like, hey, I want to have a say. Like, I'm willing to go on your site, like I'm just talking with you, and let people, that's not me. And they're like, oh, you're the scammer. We don't believe you. We're not even going to let you have a chance. You're not going to scam on us. So like even the scam sites, you know, won't even let someone clear their own name or have a dialogue, which is unfortunate, but I can't do so much, you know, too much about that, you know?
Yes, I think because you're now working with people who are carrying anger, and now it's misdirected because they cannot reach the person who has scammed them, and they're just directing the anger to someone who's totally innocent, who's also a victim in a way, because
of course,
you know, we thank you so much. I want to respect your time. Thank you so much for giving us all this information and some advice. I'm hoping that a lot of people are going to learn from this, and also it will improve the quality of life of most men and women and families.
Yes,
because
of course.
it is affecting lives.
Yeah, I think one of the most valuable things we can all do is open up the discussion with friends. Like if you were to post something on your own pages that said, hey, any of you out there have ever been scammed online, let me know. I've got some information for you. You might be surprised just generically if everyone posted something like that. Like if you or anyone you know has been scammed out of money or personalities or on dating sites or whatever, and you'd like more information about, you know, how to resolve that in the future or prevent that in future, let me know. They might, you know, private message you about it, and you could pass this link on or your websites on to those people. So a lot of times people don't want to talk about it, but if you throw it out there, like you have an offering, you have to offer something for them that they can get for free that's helpful, private message me if that's important to you. It will help someone else. It will save some real deep pain. It will save some money. I mean, you know, one lady gave essentially $50,000 away, and that was going to go to her kids. You know, she's an older lady. And I mean, you know, it's just heartbreaking to think that, you know, her children now were robbed of the inheritance and those grandchildren and other things because she didn't know. And she was so far in it, she was just ashamed. She was just, you know, afraid to tell anyone because she had already been duped, you know. So let's stop it early. Let's try to prevent people at all getting started by being skeptical. But if someone's beginning that journey, let's end it. Let's get that out. Let's get clear communication, interactive, live communication. And if something's off, that person's out of your life. You don't have time for that person. There are really nice people in the world. You know, you're a nice person. Darlene, who I met, is a beautiful person, just has an intention to do the right things for the right reasons. Those are the people we want to spend time with. They're easy. You know, let's go save a lot of energy in our hearts for those people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again soon when we have another discussion.
All right. God bless. Take care.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Darlene. Welcome back.
Hello. That was very insightful, very interesting. Loved it. And was taking notes madly while Scott was talking. And just, you know, to me, he was his name was James Martins. That was
oh, you. So the name that was used on you was James Martins.
Yes. Yep. So
yes, I can see how you would have easily fallen for, because he's handsome, you know, he's good looking, and you think, oh, I've got
it. I have to tell you though, Monica, he was right about Words with Friends. Words with Friends is full of people who are scammers, and there are people who aren't, you know, so you really have to check it out. But with the Words with Friends that I was using, I didn't even have a face. I had a little puppy and sitting on the rug, so I didn't see who he was. So I'm very thankful that I wasn't, you know, that wasn't just, you know, because he was handsome, but just, you know, it was the conversation and that I had with the person who was scamming me, and it started out slow. And just so some people know, the scammers will take their time. They are paid to do this. They're very good at their job. Some do jump into it right away, like within the first week, if that. They want money from you, but with this person, it was quite a while. It was like over a month before any money was ever asked for. Gift cards, basically. But the one thing that I've learned is, and I never knew anything about, never knew about scammers, didn't know about catfishing. And since then, I've learned that there's, like there's terms such as social catfish, there's catfish, there's convenience scams, and there's romance scams and social engineers. So, like, I just believe that no matter what fancy name they want to give themselves, these are the people that are scamming you. They're creating false personas on the internet through social network sites, dating sites, games, even self-help groups. Like they are everywhere. And so when a person does get contact with a person and they have their picture, even like, I'm going to use a dating site. I've not been on a dating site, but on dating sites, if they take the picture even before they contact the person and do what's called a reverse image search, they can key it in on the search bar, reverse image, and they can see if that person is being truthful about who they are, because it will show up. And you really have to make sure that it's just their facial pieces, because I was doing a search. I was going to try and do an online video of this, but when I searched a picture, it was, I live in Calgary, and so this picture that I took was of a person who was standing in front of the Banff Hotel. And so that's what came up. It didn't come up with the person. It came up, it focused more on the Banff Hotel. So a person really has to be careful when they are doing the reverse search image, that that they just take their head. And I recommend doing that right off the bat, even before you talk to the person. If you're playing games and they have their picture, click on it and do this reverse image and save yourself some time and heartache and money. And Scott was saying about giving the about the different, if they need to check out the different places, if they check out Facebook, they want to ask, show your pictures, let me see your Facebook site. I just, to me, that's your gut telling you something's not right here. And so, and statistics say that your gut is 80% of the time right. So if that's something that you feel that you have to check, if you feel like you have to have that person stand in front of the fridge, with a note, they can, if they're not going to do it immediately, they do have the option to Photoshop it and then send it to you. But if you have to do a check, then, just disconnect. You do not talk to that person. You really have to follow your intuition. And I do believe that, we have our intuition there for a reason. Sorry?
I want you to explain the reverse image. So if you put that person's image when you're checking it, what happens? What comes out?
So when you do a reverse image, so say, for instance, if I did put Scott's photo or your photo, that's the other thing too. I always recommend people do their own. Start with your own photo and see if anybody's using your photo. So take a picture of yourself, just your headshot, and you type in, so Google has a reverse image. So there's Google. I will put some links on after we're done. And so there's Google reverse image search, and there's one that's called just reverse image search. So you put your name, and then it has a picture of a little camera. You click on the camera piece, and then it'll ask you to either take your picture or take it from your computer, or is it a picture from on the internet? So you take that picture and you put it in, like you click on it, and then it'll show a number of photos. And unfortunately, it'll show you similar photos. Like, so if I had a picture of me, it would show many, hopefully women. Sometimes you get men, but you get the picture of women with gray hair that's about this, and someone with a striped shirt and a jacket. So you'll get many of those pictures, and you kind of have to search through those pictures and see if that image is similar. And then if it is similar, click on that image, and then when you click on the image, it will show you if there are any other connections to the image that was found amongst all the other many's. And often you'll find that they are on dating sites all over the country, all over the world. There's some of the people are professionals, like they have jobs where they are on the internet, and they have to, and that's their life. Like, that's how they make a living. So they take, I think of Joe Cross. I don't know if many people know Joe Cross. He's the juice guy, the Mr. Juice, who lived on juice and says about juicing being really good for you. But his photo is always on scamming sites and dating sites. And it's not, but if you click on it, you'll see that he's in Russia. He's all over the world. And so it's always a good thing. The site. So say, for instance, if you're on Tinder as a site, or Bumblebee, I can't remember other names that people, Zoosk, different sites that people have told me about. And it's always good to report that person. Or if you get them from Facebook, that they see you on, they saw you on Facebook and they think you look nice, and they want to talk to you. Click on their image and report it to Facebook that this person is, pretending to be somebody else. And unfortunately, you never know if anything is done. But Monica, 5 to 10% of people who have been scammed only report. Just 5 to 10%. Can you imagine if everybody who was scammed reported? Then for sure the governments would have to do something about it. I know in Nigeria they are doing something about it. I see postings because I belong to that site, because I keep hearing that's people saying that the Nigerian prince. They always talk about the Nigerian prince. So there's a police site that I go on, and they show arrests all the time of people who have been scammed. So they are doing, they're doing their part. Different countries are, some aren't, some countries aren't, because that's also their means of income. Like I said, these people are hired for their jobs. So report, always report. I can't say it enough. I always also recommend never delete. So if you report and you delete it, and they come back even a year later, and you said, well, I'm sorry, I deleted the information, that's information that they don't have. Or if they got your name from somebody else that had been scammed by them, and your name was amongst them, and they come to you and say, were you scammed by this person? You can say yes. But if you don't have the information, that decreases their case. So I always say, keep it, put it somewhere where you don't have to see it, because you don't need to be that reminder. But do make sure that you block the person and report the person, and stop communication, because they will keep coming after you. And the other thing I really recommend is, like Scott was saying, some women like to carry on with them. They know that they're the scammer. And I'm going to say that I did the same. I did everything I should not have done. So I let the scammer know that I knew he was a scammer. I let him know how I knew how he was scamming, and I let him know, like I would have conversations with him, and part of it is you're teaching them. You're their teacher now, because you're telling them this is how I find you. They have it in their little book of knowledge. Okay, I won't do this time. I won't use this particular poem because I know that it's on the internet, or they'll look it up on the internet, because oftentimes if you do highlight part of the conversations, you'll find that those words are pretty close to something that's already been on the internet, some lovely poem or song that's been written. And
it is important to copy and paste and search the conversation. So you'll find that they use templates.
Yes.
Yes. And another thing is they ask the same question. And if you have answered already, then you know what is wrong with you. How could you have forgotten something you asked me yesterday?
Yeah. And that's because they're working in shifts. It's not the same person. It's somebody different. This is a job. They are trained to do this. They are, at a young age, they start being recruited from schools or from the streets if they're not in schools. So they are trained, and it's very unfortunate for the students in these countries too. I mean, the other part that is really, I don't even know what word to use. It's like it's interesting, but it's not interesting in a good way, is that after they've scammed you and they know you figured it out that they have scammed you, they'll come forward and say, you're right, I'm sorry. And then they're on to part 2 of their scam. Like
doesn't end.
Like they want, and then they'll ask you for money, because they come from a poor country, and they don't have, any means to live. And, so then they're playing on your heartstrings, and so they will come around to part 2 of it. And if you block them, they find ways to get a hold of you. Like they can look up you on Facebook, or they somehow get another number and call you again. So it's, they are in touch, and the best thing to do is always just to, disconnect from them. Again, don't delete, just disconnect.
So this advice, and it goes to both men and women, because men are being scammed as well, badly. So
they are. Yeah.
You always need to insist that you talk on video. So if they have contacted you on Messenger, you say, let's talk on video. If they've contacted you on WhatsApp, wherever they found, most of these platforms have got a live video, a facility that you can use. And if they are not coming on the video, then there is a problem. And like Scott said as well, if the English is bad, and if you like you were saying to me, Darlene, last time I told you that I was I was contacted by a scammer, and as I was talking to him, I insisted that I wanted him to call. But when he was calling me, he was saying my camera. He said my camera is bad, and then I said to him, "That's bad English. A camera has got no feelings. It can't be bad. A camera is broken." So you say to me, you just gave him it, So it's when they're looking at the language like that, I shouldn't have made him aware that he needs to polish up on his English. But some of that English is so bad anyway. It needs really going to school to polish it up for it to be, at least palatable English. And then the next thing he kept saying, so he started ringing, but he wasn't showing. And I kept texting back saying, I'm not talking to you unless I see your face. It rang again, I didn't pick up. And I text back, I'm not talking to you until I see your face. And then eventually showed me his face. The image was of a white gentleman, but the person who came on camera was a black boy. And then I said, are you white? He goes, no. Are you 52? He goes, no. I said, so what are you doing? How old are you? He goes, 25. I said, you're not. 19. I said, you're not. Tell me your actual age. I'm 17. I said, do you know I'm old enough to be your mother? So I just started interrogating him. And after that, I just cut the phone and I blocked him.
Yeah.
But had I not done that, I probably would have been scammed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And like I say, like as soon as you suspect that somebody's a scammer, as soon as your sixth sense comes in and says, I better check this out. To me, that's the red flag. That's, that should be block, end of conversation.
Right.
So cease, I say cease your conversation, your communication immediately, block, don't delete, don't continue to engage with them in any way. Like if they find another way to phone you, don't answer the phone or don't answer their texts or don't respond to anything. If you're unsure you're being scammed, talk to family members, call resources. It is like, I know it's hard. Like it's for a person, that they are emotionally involved in, and sometimes people do get emotionally involved quickly. They don't want to talk to other people about it because they feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed. They don't want their friends or their family to think that they're stupid or that they would fall for such a thing like that. So if they've given money to a scammer and it doesn't matter any amount, they should always report it to the local police.
Right.
Because, it's very fortunate, like Scott said, that woman, got back her $31,000. Like, that's a miracle.
Yes.
She must have been praying hard for that, because to get it back was pretty amazing. So hopefully, if they call the local police, like sometimes people do something and then they got the right away they're, oh, I shouldn't have done that. They should call the police like right away. Or they should report to the different places, like in a person's province or state or country. Like there are places where they do have reporting places, and I can put those on the online too for you. And do the reviews.
Great. I think if you put the places where they can report, as well as some Facebook groups that that other people join to understand more, because not many people come forward.
No, that's
for
right.
the reason that people would rather keep it as a secret, because nobody wants to say that I was scammed. But they do come and, if somebody is saying my daughter is in hospital and you've been talking to them, they go for that part of you that is the soft, the kind, the human part. Mm-hmm. What makes you humane is what they come after. And what makes you human is what they come after. So you need to be aware of that. And you're not being wrong. You're being who you are. Yeah. The person who wants to help another human being in trouble. It's just unfortunate that the person who's coming to you is not genuine. And you're not responsible for somebody else's behavior. And I think once we accept that somebody's decided to steal from you, you are not responsible for their behavior. Yeah, maybe you might blame yourself for ignoring your intuition. But nonetheless, what's done is done. Now you need to forgive yourself and try to find either counseling, approach people like Darlene, and talk to them and get advice, and join those support groups so that you can get support from people who know how to help people who have been scammed. People get scammed in different ways.
Oh, and so many of them, like there's just, thousands and thousands of people getting scammed every day.
Mm.
You're not alone, and there are people out there. Their Facebook does have different support groups that people can connect to, and you don't have to say anything at first if you don't want to, but if you want to, then you can. But you can at least read their stories. The scammer has taken, in my opinion, the best part of you and has destroyed it. And so you want that back. You want to be able to trust people again. You want to be able to love, and you want to be able to give, and you need to heal. You need to find your way to heal, and there's many different ways, and you'll get a lot of that information on the if you reach out to some of the resources that and I found that the Facebook page, the people that have been on have been really helpful. So I'll put those links as well.
Mm-hmm. Is there any advice that you would like to add to what you have said?
Again, I always, it's the follow your gut. If you think that you have to have them prove who they are, don't just move on. And there's so many nice people out there that are just waiting for you. There is that Mr. or Mrs. Right for you. And the other thing too is, a lot of the times people and I, like I said, when I went through my experience, I did everything I should not have done. Like I shouldn't have continued talking to the person as soon as I suspected that he was scamming me. I shouldn't have gone looking to find out who that real person was. I shouldn't have contacted him, but I did all those things. And not only that, I also gave, I was sharing family pictures with the person that, that was, that was scamming me. And that's the other term. Like, one of the things people always, I think what hinders them trying to break away from being scammed as well is a lot of times you will hear people saying, and my scammer did this. He's not your scammer. He's a scammer. He doesn't belong to you. It's
doesn't belong to you.
Every now and then I go, the scammer.
So what I don't remember asking you, Darlene, what was the reaction you got from your friends and family when they knew that you have been scammed?
See, I was always open about everything. So I didn't hide anything. Like because when I was talking to him as a person who I thought was James Martin's, I talked to them about it. When he was asking me for money, I contacted my uncle, who's an oil rig person, and he said, it's not likely, but it could happen. So I mean, I was talking to people about it. And then when they found out that it was a scam, my family was really good. My friends or acquaintances or people at work, they were supportive, but initially they couldn't believe that I would fall for something like that. Well, some could and some couldn't. Depends how much they knew me. Because I am a very giving person. But for some, I think part of it is, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing the Scam Prevention International. It's not just. It is mainly for the awareness. I want people to not get scammed initially. Like
Right.
follow, some few steps, take some, important information. And, if you don't feel it's right, then don't do it. But I'm also really concerned about the people who are keeping it inside of themselves. People have committed suicide over this. People are, in hospitals, in, grave injuries, and there's family who have lost loved ones because they didn't talk about it, or because they did talk about it, and people like, how could you fall for something like that? How could you do that? And some people, when I had asked for their help, when I first started posting, so I post every week on Facebook. And when I started posting, I asked people, well, how come, how come you don't like it, or you don't share it, or you don't, and they go, well, I look at it and it's very good information, but I don't share it because I don't hang around people that they're not in my circle of friends that would fall for something like that. So,
and then you say hello. Why didn't you say hello? I'm right here.
my response was, oh, am I not in your circle of friends? And it was like, lights on.
Right.
And the funniest thing is that a lot of those people have come to me and said they have friends who are in this particular situation. What can they do? So
And I think
it's out there. A lot of people still don't click on like, and they don't share the information. I really, really wish they would, because the more people that they know, whether they're in their circle of friends or not, my tagline is, let's look out for one another. Like, there's a whole world of people out there like me at the beginning of all of this who knew the word scam didn't even exist.
right.
And so if you're putting it on and people are seeing it, then it's out there. I have to say, I need to advertise my own Scam Prevention International.
Yes.
On September 15th, I will be launching my website, Scam Prevention International, because right now I've just been using my own Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And if you look up my name on Instagram, it'll be under Instagram. It's still going to remain the same, Darlene Gladu Petrie. You will see all of the different postings that I've put up there: romance, scams, social media, shopping, scam, so many different types of scams. There's information on what it is and how to avoid it.
All right. So you can put any other link that you want people to check out. You can put it in the discussion. You can add it to the discussion. And we just want to thank people who were with us on this call. We had Chido. She left a message to say, great advice, good advice, Scott, and then good advice. And this is a man here who lives in South Africa, Wellington. And Evangelist Grace Dongo, she said, oh yes, we have braved all the bullying, body shaming, etc., etc. Happy Women's on Cyber. So
yay! Yes, I didn't advertise that. Yes,
you did.
Is Cybersecurity, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And on September 15th, International Cyber Women in Cyber Day is hosting a conference for women who are in the cybersecurity and technology field. So that is, and it's free. And I'll post the link for that as well. If anyone is looking to change their career, or is looking for a job and has the credentials, then please do check onto that. Like that's a perfect place where women are growing. I get different statistics. Some say that it's 11% of the women are in cybersecurity, and another area I've seen that it's between 20 and 25. So there's a varying degree of involvement, but definitely there needs to be more women in the cybersecurity field.
Absolutely. As you see that the scammers are taking advantage of our natural nurturing attributes. And so it means that more and more women need to jump into cybersecurity.
And just so you know, there's 3.5 million job openings in the field.
In that field. Whoa.
Globally.
Globally, yes. So,
and there is one in Africa. South Africa has a Women in Cybers group I see it all the time on Twitter.
Okay.
Where you'll see cyber security for women in Africa. Yep.
That's fantastic.
It's
well,
everywhere.
Thank you so much for coming and spending time as usual. This is valuable information. This is going to save lives. This is going to keep families together. And this is going to reduce depression, because prevention is always better than the cure. And we want to prevent more people, men and women, from committing suicide, because there is someone there who is doing a heartless act of taking money from them just because they happen to live in a different country. It doesn't mean that they are loaded. Some people are actually struggling, and you're taking the last penny that they have. And the fact that you are doing this, whether as a job or whatever, at the end of the day, here I'm addressing the scammer. At the end of the day, there is no justification whatsoever for you to be stealing from other people. Your poverty, or the poverty that you're in right, does not give you the right to steal from another human being. Your poverty does not give you the right to violate. If you're stealing from a 76-year-old and they give you all their life savings, you have practically killed that person. And so you can't take this coming job lightly. Just sit there and know that you are going about killing people. Sit in it. Realize that this is what you are doing. Because if somebody ends up in hospital, if somebody ends up committing suicide because of what you have done, you have blood on your hands. So it's not a fancy job, really. It's horrible. Thank you so much, Darlene, for coming to spend time with us and teaching us and reminding us we need to be able to talk about these things. We need to be able to put shame aside so that we are able to heal from the violation that would have taken place.
Mm-hmm. And let's put these guys out of work.
Absolutely. Let's keep them out of work. And let them go do something so that they can be in proper gainful employment or open businesses without.
And you do the reverse image search right away.
Absolutely. Everyone, enjoy the rest of the long weekend. And thank you so much for spending time with us here on South TV. Please share this video. I will also post our YouTube link. Subscribe and share, because our main purpose as South TV is to educate, empower, and inform. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.